Good morning, guys. It's Beth. Back another session of Finicky. You might be wondering where I've been, why I've not been recording. Well, it's been super busy, which is good. Business has been good. But I've also got some stuff that has been going on in the background, personal, that I think today I want to talk about it. And it's a really difficult thing to discuss because it almost feels unbelievable, the things that have happened. So, about a year and a half ago, I took Maple in because she'd started peeing outside the box. Typical first step, what's going on? Does she have a bladder infection, or, what do we have going on there? They did a cytocentesis. She had crystals in her urine. Some of them oxalate crystals, some of them struvite. So that was the first veterinarian, who was a stand-in veterinarian, sent me home with basically nothing. And I knew straight away that, well, if we're seeing crystals in the urine, then we need to get on the prescription food. So I had to call the office back the next day and get the food started. Plain. Then we had an incident a little while later. Blood in the urine in the litter box. Called my vet office. They couldn't take her, so we went to the emergency vet. At that time, they did get us in right away. I think it helped that I walked in and says, she's on gabapentin, so you can see her in the next 90 minutes. If you wait more than that, then we're up against it with her. So, saw the veterinarian. He basically said, right food, we're on the right food. Did some Xrays, there were some bladder stones, but again, we still didn't know if they were struvite or oxalate. And it's important because struvites will dissolve with the right food, and oxalates will not. And most female cats, once you get rid of all the excess crystals and the swelling down and infection under control, will pass those stones without an issue. Male cats, on the other hand, typically will not, and these are usually the things that can cause issues and require emergency type surgery or even cause death. So, we have the discussion. She's female. She more than likely is going to pass them or have, minimal issues from them. So we went on for another, 6 to 9 months. We would go weeks with nothing, and then we'd have weeks where we're back out of the litter box. And I know all of this waxing and waning could be from, these stones or the struvites or new oxalate stones or causing an infection or whatever. So finally we were to the point where it's like, okay, let's get you back to the vet, get this rechecked, because we don't seem to be making any headway here. We go back, blood work, Xrays, decide we're going to do the cystomy surgery to remove the stones. At this point, there were no struvite crystals, so the food was working. It's the oxalate bladder stones. So a week later, get that surgery done. Going in through 2-week recovery to go, I don't know, it was like a few days before the appointment, and I said, I feel like there's an infection going on here. Something's not feeling right. Went in for a quick vet tech check. They said everything was fine. Came back that following Tuesday to be rechecked post-surgery. Everything looked good. Went home that night, put Revolution Plus on her at the recommendation and prescribed by my vet. 24 hours later, she was projectile vomiting and just a catastrophic deal going on. Called the vet office back. They said, take her to the emergency vet, our big emergency vet, which we did. We waited close to 8 hours to be seen. Another plane, so I don't know if you're going to be able to hear me. We waited close to 8 hours to be seen at that time. Finally got in, saw the vet. He said, well, typically, this stuff we can do, fluids, and, it helps the toxin, wash out of their system. The other option was to do Xrays and blood work. But pretty much it sounded to me from him that it wasn't necessary or wouldn't be necessary unless things did not improve. So we ended up doing the sub-Q fluids and bringing her home. Things didn't improve. She was getting more and more dehydrated, more lethargic. We went back, had to wait another 4 or 5 hours, the whole time being told that she is quote unquote stable, not critical. Finally, they took her back, and the vet tech did come back out and tell me, it'll be another few hours before we get to her. At which point, I simply told him, no, give me my cat. Give me my cat back, because at that point, we're busy on the North Coast. And I, might as well go see my regular vet. And that's when I got her back and realized my regular vet is closed on Thursdays. Okay, so we're going to another emergency vet hospital that we're not, on their website it says you have to be a client to get in, to use their emergency services. Thank goodness I'm on some clients' accounts, and I was able to, was classified as a client, and I was able to get Maple in to be seen. And that veterinarian, same song and dance about that, this is typically, we'll see like the fur missing and all that kind of stuff, and so anyway, while there, they did X-rays and additional blood work. Blood work indicated things were not good. Literally, things were not good. Don't know if it was bacterial or whatever, but she was seeing some indications in the blood that we were potentially looking at some sort of a septic event. Lots of inflammation going on, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, she's having an anaphylactic type systemic reaction to the flea medication, the flea tick medication. So we get more sub-Q's on board. I bring her home. We get into our regular veterinarian. She tells us she's got about a 70% chance to live. And since I know so much about medications and things, my veterinarian was willing to send me home with 3 or 4 different medications, a bag of sub-Q fluids, AD prescription food, which is the emergency food, so I could force feed her because she wasn't eating. And again, here we are now 2 more weeks later, and everything seems to have settled down. We're now doing good, and we have a potential dental for her coming up. So we go in and we're doing the recheck. I agreed to do more blood work to see what the damage is to the organs from this event, this toxin event. Things look to be improving, but still some inflammation going on. But things were improving. So, we're staying scheduled for this dental. But while we're there, my vet takes a much closer look at the genitalia and realizes Miss Maple is actually Mr. Maple. So, here we are, 1, 2, 3, 4 veterinarians later, and a cystomy, and a bad reaction to a prescription flea and tick medication, and we're only now discovering that Miss Fluffy Bottom Maple is actually Mr. Fluffy Bottom Maple. One, two, three. 3 different veterinary facilities, and not the butterfly, and not a single veterinarian double checked the sex. So essentially, I don't even want to think about that, because fast forward another 3 weeks, and Maple is back to projectile vomiting again. The second emergency vet hospital we had been to did Xrays of the gastrointestinal tract. Everything looked good, looked clear. They did question that they did see some crackling in the lungs. They don't know, without sending that out, if it was asthma or if it's lung cancer. So I didn't send it out because I didn't choose to spend that money at that point, because we were already looking at cystomy surgery was running around $2,600. The other vet hospital was another $500, so that's $3,100. This emergency vet hospital was another $1,000, so we're looking at $4,500. And I'm like, well, let's get sub-Q fluids on board, because I'm pretty sure we're still having a systemic reaction to the flea meds. So that was a little piece of information you needed as we move forward. Saw my vet, spent the 2 weeks in home, force feeding, that was the first week in June. We are now here at the end of July, and Maple, as of Tuesday, was supposed to go in and get the dental. Well, lo and behold, on Friday, before this past Friday, Maple had more projectile vomiting going on. And they had just called me to confirm that we would be there on Tuesday and that we understood the preparations for the dental. So we get in to the vet. They take us as an emergency at my regular vet. And we do some more blood work and some more Xrays. And this time the X-ray shows an gastrointestinal obstruction of some sort. They sent the X-rays out stat, which means immediately. We need immediate readback on this because we need to know what to do. It's round. We have no idea what it is. My veterinarian takes another look at the X-ray. Her feeling is that it's a tumor. And that doesn't surprise me. Because we were 8 weeks ago, we were looking at issues going on in the lungs. We were looking at issues where we're having inappropriate reactions to some medications. We're showing some hypersensitivity to stuff that shouldn't be. And I don't know what the lesson learned here is. Because over the years, that I've had Maple, they all thought Maple was a girl to begin with. And then, the last 5 vets in the last, 8 weeks. So Maple went over the Rainbow Bridge on Friday. I just, we're looking at another $4,000 or $5,000 for an intestinal surgery after now having spent almost $5,000 in 8 weeks prior. I don't know. I don't know what the lesson learned is. I do know how I feel at the moment. Another one. I do know how I feel at the moment. I feel now that I'm looking at all of this in hindsight, I feel let down by the veterinary community. And I know they're busy, and I know they're overwhelmed. And I know they're rushing through sometimes. And I told this to my vet on Friday because she was wanting to send me back to the big veterinary hospital where I'd have to sit and wait another 16 hours for Maple to even get pain relief or triaged or whatever. And I was just like, I can't do that. If I have another vet tech tell me my cat is stable and the wait is hours long to be seen, and waiting an hour or two Okay, I can understand. 8 hours. Don't tell me my pet is stable when I'm here and the vet office sent me here. And like I said, I know there's a shortage of veterinarians. I hear it all the time. It's a very stressful job. I understand that. I empathize with that in many ways. Well, you walk in as a pet sitter into a house that a cat is not exactly medication cooperative, and you're by yourself. It's not like you have a teammate to help. So I get it. When it happens, I get it. But it's really, really hard. Oh, one of the other things that was said to me is pet insurance. Hello. Do you know that most pet insurance doesn't cover illness in cats over the age of 9? Okay? And you still have to have, in my case, I would have still needed to have $10,000 or more available up front. It's hard. Hard decisions. It's even more pricks my soul a little bit that four or five veterinarians got it wrong. Losing Lucy in October was expected. She's 19. She's kidney issues. Totally expected. Not surprised. I knew what this would look like. Losing Lily wasn't totally unexpected, but again, this was another case where we went in for the wellness exam and the blood work showed something else was going on. And the vet was insistent on doing a massive dental on her. And we would have to add extra fluids and all of this kind of extra to support her through such an event. And it was just 4 or 5 months later, Lily was having an ultrasound and confirmed massive tumors throughout her body. And we had gone to a different vet at that time because my vet couldn't get us in for like months anyway. Now we know. Being who I am and what I do is hard sometimes when it comes to communicating with my more educated colleagues, because sometimes they don't respect it. The one vet hospital, I did go back and talk to the director of that large chain. It's It's a chain facility. And she was quite placating in the early part of our conversation. I'm going to move a little bit here. There we go. She was quite placating in the beginning of our conversation. And she says, "Oh, you have a delicate flower." And at that moment, I was like biting my tongue, and sometimes it doesn't work with me because I'm getting older and I don't want to put up with the baloney. And I says, "Well, yeah, she's a bit of a delicate flower, but I'm also elite fear-free certified, so I kind of recognize cognitive bias in my colleagues when it's happening." And it was really funny. Her whole tune changed. Like I told her, I says, at some point I'm trusting the veterinarian to know and to make reasonable decisions. I says, I recognize, like I told her, I recognize that Maple was having an adverse reaction that isn't common. And I'm trying to communicate that to both the vet tech staff and the veterinarian on the second time we went back to them, when the first course of action didn't work. And nobody was listening. I says, "I need you to contact Zoetis and make them aware that this happened, because it's really quite rare. It's like 0.5% chance that a full-blown inflammatory response will happen." She didn't believe me. She didn't believe me at first. But I know she called. I know she did what I asked her to do, because I got a check from Zoetis covering those veterinary expenses. It's pretty incredible. Would I expect a veterinarian to recognize that kind of a response on the first visit? Probably not. I think that was fairly reasonable. But when we come back within 24 hours and the cat is worse, don't tell me my cat is stable. My cat is now dying. And in the end, a few weeks later, Maple crossed Rainbow Bridge anyway. But I don't like to have to throw around my credentials to get care for my cats. And frankly, I don't think a pet owner should have to go through some of what I've gone through in the last few weeks. That's the gist of it. I don't think you should have to go through what I've been through. The question is how do we fix it? How do we help the veterinary community do better? Let me know what you think. And I'll see you on the next video.